Hello, everyone here at the middle school and at home. Welcome to the meeting of the Waynesboro Area School District Board of Directors for September the 14th, 2021. Those of you who are here, if you please join me in standing for the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, Ms. Kuzer, since we do have one remote participant, let's do the roll call, please.
Okay. Mrs. Zimmerman?
Here.
Mrs. Bakeville?
Here.
Mrs. Strite?
Yes, here.
Dr. Royer?
Here.
Mr. McDonald?
Here.
Mrs. Miles?
Here.
Mrs. Sullivan?
Here.
Mr. Wenger is not here. And Mrs. Harold?
Here. Okay, moving on to the approval of the agenda. We do have a couple changes. Dr. Klein?
Okay, what I'm asking that on the agenda, I have a resolution I'm going to offer to the board to consider, which would be C1. And then also, I am asking that we table just the doctor contract, not the dentist contract, but the doctor contract. WellSpan had a couple of different words they wanted to change in the contract, and we haven't, you guys haven't gotten this yet. We just received it today. And then the last one would be number 7, the MOA for the cyber. I'd like to ask you to table that, please.
Do you have a motion to approve those changes?
So moved.
Second.
Any questions? All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Okay. Was somebody opposed? No. Okay. Okay. Moving on then. Approval of the minutes. We have motion to approve minutes from our last meeting.
Move to approve. Second.
Questions? All those in favor of approving the minutes from the last meeting, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, Dr. Klein.
I just wanted to, as I normally do, I report back on the number of cases in the schools so people know. At the high school, we have currently we have 45 cases of student cases at the high school, 1 adult of COVID. Middle school, 15, adults 1, Fairview Avenue 3, adults none, Maori 1, adults none, at Summit U2, adults 1, Hooverville 1 student and 2 adults, and none here at Clayton Avenue. I want to let the board know that with the exception of the high school, these numbers are lower than what we were experiencing last year at this time. And one other thing, we had to try to make some convenience if parents wanted their child tested. This is only a voluntary thing. We did work out with the military to get some tests, but they had said we had to do at least 5. I guess they were thinking we were going to try to test everybody and we weren't going to. So we can't use those. So we asked for rapid tests. So if parents want that convenience of being able to have their child tested to keep them in school easier, because if the child has a cold and not the virus, maybe they can get back to school a little quicker. So anyhow, we did get those tests. They just came in, those test kits. They aren't out at the buildings yet. They just arrived today, but we hope to get them out and all the protocols, how to use them and all that by the end of the week. So hopefully next week we'll have them available. And I think it's 20% of our student population, how many they sent us.
Okay. Dr. Sternheim is asking that you speak more to the mic when the time comes. Okay.
I'm sorry.
Okay. Okay. So we are now going to move in then to the public comment, the first public comment portion of our meeting. We'll reiterate again, there were copies, in case anybody's interested to look at later if you want to, of the board policy 903, which does give the parameters for the public comment. Though it does say 30 minutes, thanks to the will of the board, I have the option to extend it which we are going to do for an hour if need be. For the first public comment, we will stay with the half an hour for the second public comment. We've been very fortunate in the past that people have made their opinions known and done it in a very respectful way. Passion is one thing, but please don't engage in any kind of personal attacks or things like that, or we're going to have to stop the meeting. I sure hope that doesn't happen, but that is, of course, an option. Public comment is 5 minutes. You can speak for all five if you want to. There is a timer, which you'll see up on the screen, so you have a hint of when your time is running down if you go that long. I will then ask you to please wind it up, and then hopefully you can conclude. Also, please, when you speak, please give your name, your address, and this is only open to residents of the Waynesboro Area School District. If for some reason you would like to speak and you do not live in the Waynesboro Area School District, you would have to ask permission of the board to approve you speaking. So please adhere to that, which we usually do not have too much trouble with. Okay, now before we do public comment too, I just wanted to make an opening comment. And of course you can speak about anything, by the way. It doesn't have to be the mandate, though I know that's what's on everybody's mind. The board, we came up with a short statement. As Dr. Klein said, there's also a resolution that's going to follow later. But I will give this statement from the majority of the board. I believe if you contact people, hopefully that you would get a response if you want to know more details of individual feelings on this issue. But this is just a general statement that we're going to open up with kind of our comment before you guys get to comment. On August the 5th, Governor Wolf stated he was giving local school districts the authority to make decisions about masking in their schools. When only 59 responded in their health and safety plans that they were requiring masks to open schools, Governor Wolf then asked the Senate and House leadership to convene a meeting to pass a bill requiring masking in our schools. The legislative leadership refused. At this point, the governor requested that the state secretary of health issue an order requiring masks due to the increased numbers of cases in the state. She complied with that request, which took away our authority and put districts in the situation that we are in today. Regardless of whether or not board members are for or against masking at this point, we all agree that we have problems with the taking away of our authority to run our district safely. We believe that our safety and health plan was appropriate for our district and could have been just as effective as last year's plan. We think that by staying open and only completely shutting down 8 days last year, which is all it was, it showed that we had an effective plan that kept our students safe and allowed for the in-person learning for the majority of our kids. We also feel that due to our hybrid and now our own virtual cyber option, parents can make the best choice for their children. Again, we would like to be able to run our school district based on local decisions, not mandates from Harrisburg. We do not think we should have had our local decision-making taken from us, but since it was, unless things change, the majority agrees we will be following the mandate. However, there are ways to legally have your children exempted from this mandate. The easiest would be to accurately fill out our exemption form. We have all read about and watched many, many hours of information from various medical experts and other professionals. We have read the letters from the community and listened to you speaking at the board meetings, and we take that into consideration in our decisions as well. The decision makers in our district are doing our best to sift through all of this and making the best decisions we can and allowing parents to make decisions for their children while still following the law. This issue remains in flux. I personally think there are many more changes to come. If we find a way to feel comfortable legally in a return to local authority, we will go back to our original health and safety plan. Until then, we will follow the mandate as we interpret it. That's a statement from the board. And now we are ready. Who would ever like to be the first person to speak?
So I'm one of the, is this on?
Yes.
Okay, I'm one of the few people here wearing a mask, so I apologize if you have trouble hearing me, okay?
Please state your name and address.
Yes,
please.
I will.
Okay.
John Bryan,
Okay.
and I am at 1717 East Main Street here in Waynesboro. I came to speak tonight because I first want to thank the board, and I want to thank the teachers and the administrators and the support staff who are working so hard for the community to try to make this a decision that pleases everyone. And you know damn well it's not going to please everyone, okay? It simply cannot, because we're all individuals We all interpret our rights differently, and we all want what we perceive to be the best for our children. I know that's a burden that you have to bear, and we appreciate your hard work, and we appreciate the work of all of the school district employees, okay? I'm a former teacher and a former counselor, and I understand exactly the position that you're in. I also served in the Navy, and that experience taught me a sense of duty and a sense of sacrifice, and being part of something that was bigger than myself, a sense of community that has carried with me today. I'm also a Christian, and my faith informs a lot of my decision-making, and I turn to the Bible and its wisdom many, many times when I'm trying to decide what to do. And I believe that faith and prayer carry a huge weight in anybody's decision-making, or it should. Now, again, there's many people in this community of different religions, and it must be respected. Their rights must be respected and accommodated, and I certainly understand that. But I want to share a couple of verses that I think will speak to some of the debate. In Philippians 2:4, it says, "Let each of us look not only to our own interests, but also to the benefit of others." In 2 Timothy, the Lord says, "I have not given you a spirit of fear, but of power and of love and of self-control." I guess I'm here today to ask a very important question. Where has the sense of community and the sense of spirit gone? Where has it disappeared? We seem so divided between Republican and Democrat and liberal and conservative. It's just mind-boggling. It's a tornado of information, and it's a lot of misinformation. Where do we turn for answers? It's difficult. So in my situation, in my case, I turn back to, in many cases, my faith to inform my decisions. I'm going to put my faith in the experts, because if we accept that there's a creator and we accept that he created the world and everything in it, then he created these experts with the knowledge that we need. I'm going to put my trust and my faith in the doctors and in the nurses and in the researchers and in all of you that are trying to work so hard, so diligently for our community, whatever your decision may be. We see a lot of extreme views from the left and the right, and I guess I'm here today to try to promote a civic responsibility of coming together with information, and let's talk, let's discuss, let's rely less on social media and more on conversation and hugs and shaking hands and trying to find a way to bridge these gaps, these ridiculous gaps that we didn't seem to have in years past. How has it devolved this way? And what example, by the way, are we setting for our children? Are we teaching them to work together, to resolve differences in a like-minded way, to be able to disagree and still walk out of this door as friends and members of this community? That's my hope. Because again, I may feel differently than everyone in this room and all of you, but I'm willing to work with you. I elected some of you, and I trust your judgment. I have faith in your ability to govern this school district and make wise decisions for the safety of our children and protecting them in this very challenging time. And I also believe in the power of prayer, and I will be praying fervently for every single one of you and for the strength that you need to go forward and to make these difficult decisions. And I will be praying for the support staff and the teachers and the administrators to make sure that everyone has a successful, safe school year and we reach the outcomes that we want for our children. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, Margie Schaeffer, 13593 Monterey Lane, Blue Ridge Summit. I've got some news from the Capitol. Oh, that was really nice, what you all wait, thank you for the opening statement and all. That was very heartwarming. I wouldn't want to be on the school board right now. I thought about it a lot. But I think I'm better being a volunteer with the Pennsylvania Coalition for Informed Consent. Our agency since 2015 has kept every bad bill that would take away medical freedom in this state. So I'm going over to meet with Representative Mao today, and I get a text. House Health Committee hearing, 11 o'clock. So my meeting gets canceled, and I'm guided to I have time to watch the hearing. Thank you, God. I watched online, and here's the letter. I was able to get this because our dear Representative Paul Schummel sits on the Health Committee. He's doing a great job for us. So this passed. This is the letter. He was able to send it to me by email. It's going to, this letter passed out of the House Health Committee today. It is on its way to the Commonwealth Joint Committee on Documents. They will review the content of this letter. If they approve it, it will go to the House. If the House approves it, it goes to the Senate. This is about time on this mask issue. I don't know exactly what that means, but I'm trying to go find out for you because we gotta work together. I've been up at the Capitol for 6 years now doing this, and 10 years before that to get our massage school license, our massage license for our massage field. So this is about the order of the acting secretary of the Pennsylvania Department of Health directing face coverings in school entities. This order was not issued by the governor of Pennsylvania, nor does it rely on an emergency declaration issued by the governor. Rather, it is based solely on the authority granted to the Secretary of Health to impose general control measures under Section 5 of the DPCL 1128 Pennsylvania Code 27.60 and Section 2101A of the Administrative Code of 1929. Based upon the facts above, Acting Secretary Beam violated the law by issuing the August 31st order because the order is a rule or a regulation, and Beam did not follow the rulemaking procedures that we are required under the Commonwealth Documents Law and Regulatory Review Act. To determine whether the Pennsylvania Department of Health has issued an order in the form of a regulation, the department's order must be analyzed to see if it satisfies the binding norm test. They're going to look at the plain language. Number two, they're going to look at the implementation. Number three, they're going to look at the department's discretion. And finally, in conclusion, the application and effect of the language in the order shows the pronouncement to be restrictive, directive, and substantive, all of the characteristics of a regulation. So that means it has to go through these three procedures I said in the beginning. That's good. Doesn't that feel good? That's good. I know you can't show any emotion or anything, so but I feel this. Okay. So on September 27th, I'm part of a local group called the Washington Area School District Patriots. We have paid for a legal consultation with Eric Winters. Now, you know, he's the Prince law firm that won the Taste of Sicily. That's a powerful win that we had for that. And I understand there's a video up there with Eric Winters talking. So we hope that by meeting with him, this fear of government overreach can be comforted. Please talk to the other school boards. All the school boards are just what's going on with the school boards. Don't just stay with yourselves. Look for help. The Franklin County school boards, they all want to speak. A lot of them, a couple of them, I won't say, they want to speak to you. Open up that, get legal consult, whatever we can do to avoid this government overreach, because our freedom is going down the drain. If this mask thing goes, it's just the opening. The next thing is going to be the vaccines. And they're already saying for under 12.
Thank you.
Robert Strasser, I live 16 Myrtle Avenue, Waynesville, PA. I just
Yeah, I'm not gonna create a problem, but I'm a little confused about the message that Mr. Klein had sent out about the mask mandates. It says in the mask that it's not gonna be enforced until September 24th. And apparently it'll be enforced in the schools at this moment. Under section 3, or something you quoted about. Well, I got an exempt form. It says nothing about.
I apologize to interrupt, but can you please speak into the microphone?
I'm sorry, I apologize. About the message you sent. And I went to the school and my daughter, because I'd asked her about how it went with the mask. And she said, well, I asked if I had to wear one. They told her, you don't have a choice, you have to wear one. Well, actually, it was a teacher's aide or somebody was in the room. The lady had said she doesn't think that she has a choice now. And I went to the school, got the exempt form and looked at it. I haven't filled it out yet because the message doesn't say what that says. I was kind of like, I thought it wasn't gonna be enforced until the 24th. And she has to wear it now. She should have the choice because I thought the 24th was the grace period to get adjusted and acclimated to whatever's gonna happen or try to happen. And I want to know why she has to wear a mask from now to the 24th. Is that the way the policy is? Does she have to wear it now?
No.
Until the 28th.
Well, at Maori School District, they are apparently you have to wear it. That's what
We
she was
will
told.
check in.
and-
Yeah, we'll look into that. That should,
And I was just like, because I
right,
got
that
the
should,
exempt form is for the 24th and after the 24th.
Right,
if I'm
it's
correct.
after the 24th,
Right.
28th.
So, I mean, that's just my concern. I mean, I'm anti-mask. I'm for the freedom of people. I have my choice. I know what's good for my kids. I appreciate what people say, but they brought the politics to the kids this time. I didn't, we would be talking about this if it wasn't for the politics of it, in my opinion.
May I see you out there so I can ask who your child heard that from it?
I asked her who it was. She said she didn't know. She said she didn't know she was a teacher or not, but an aide, somebody was just standing there.
Okay.
And Miss, I can't think of her teacher's name. Excuse me.
we'll check.
Okay.
She has the same last name as you do? Your
Yes.
daughter? Okay, we can check from that way. But no,
But for the people, I mean, I know it's good for my kids. I mean, you guys are just educators. I know math, history, science. I appreciate everything you guys do in that aspect. I mean, I know it's good for the kid, my child, because I mean, I live with her every day. I know what's good for her, how she breathes, how she doesn't breathe, which is in contact, and what she's not in contact. And I just wish, I hope something good comes from this and hope we get our right to say yes or no. Thank you very much.
thank you. Sure.
My name's Brenda Miller, and this is my husband, Tom. And we live at 11247 Reinhardt Drive in Waynesboro. We're here tonight to support optional masking for both students and the teachers. Thank you for your opening comment. I think we all just want you to fight for our children. Our grandson, who's a kindergarten, brought this worksheet home from school yesterday. It's from Scholastic. It's about feelings. And the activity was they were to circle the feeling based on the facial expression that they were making. The fact that this worksheet was part of his education tells me that our district understands the importance of facial recognition and understanding other emotions through their expressions. This is both important and necessary. This is not happening when the children's and the teachers' faces are covered by a mask. Please consider our children's mental health. We just want your help on this. We all want to work together. Thank you.
Thank you.
Sorry about that. Good evening. My name's Adam Newcomer. I live at 113 South Church Street. I have 4 children, 2 in middle school, 2 in elementary school. When school started this year, I didn't see very many masks being worn. I was glad to see that. No one was telling you couldn't wear one. Is that why you weren't wearing them? Because someone wasn't telling you to? But if this was about health, you would have been wearing them from the beginning. So it's not about health. This order came down from the Secretary of State Health Department. Mandate, not law. 106,572 people. That was his attendance at the Penn State game this weekend. We saw all across the country, stadiums full, football games, baseball games. Not many masks were being worn, but it's about health. All 2020, we heard the officials say, you can't do something, then turn around and do the exact same thing they told you you couldn't do. But it's about health. This politically driven tool is about control. A mandate is not a law. A mandate is a tool used to what they see acceptable behavior. The Department of Health is using the 1955 Law on Disease Prevention and Control Act, which was to quarantine the sick in a district, not the healthy. The same law that was used to shut down businesses this last year. And the businesses that stood up and took it to court had every case thrown out. Coronaviruses have been around for decades. We weren't scared of them before. Why are we now? Because we are being told to be scared of them. COVID-19 has supposedly been found in deer, dogs, and cats. I don't know if you believe that or not. That's what they say. So even if you get rid of it in humans, which you never will, it will mutate in these animals and jump right back to humans. So there's always going to be a new variant. Always. Are we going to do this for the next 20, 30, 50 years? As of 9/9 this year, there were 47 districts fighting back. Let's make it 48. I'm asking for you to allow exemption forms to parents to opt out of the mask with no liability to the school. If my kid gets sick from COVID, that's my fault. I don't want to have this. I'm not going to see you guys. I'll sign a paper not to see you guys for it. That's my choice. I made that choice. Because the next fight is coming. You're right. Is the vaccine mandate. And you think we're upset about this? You ain't seen anything. I just don't know. I mean, you guys have to see what's coming. You have to. There's no way you can't. This is a medical choice. You wouldn't want me to make a medical choice for your child. None of you would. Please don't make a medical choice for our children. I'll end it with this. This is the Child Protective Service Law right here. Child abuse, Section 8, Article 5, interfering with the breathing of a child. Considered child abuse. And we all know it does affect people's breathing. It's been proven. That's all I have. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Hello. Thank you guys so much for having me here, first of all, and everybody for coming today, because I know you could have been anywhere, but we're here for the same reason. And my name is Jennifer Hagenmeier. I live off of 11502 Ladydale Drive, and I've lived in this community for 12 years. I operate a small business from my home, but most importantly, I am here as a concerned mother to 6 children in the district. Today, I stand before you advocating for our children and our children's children. As you're aware, the most recent changes that the school district decision to enforce Governor Wolf's latest rules has pissed off a lot of mama bears and papa bears, as we can clearly see, and for good reason. I'm here asking you to unmask our children. If there is a risk of harm, there should be a choice in the matter, and that includes for our children. The same way this board has taken an oath under God to support, obey, and defend the Constitution of the United States, the Constitution of this Commonwealth, and to discharge the duties of this office with fidelity, we as mothers and fathers have taken an oath to protect our children at all costs. This order, in my opinion, is irrational and unconstitutional. It violates the Parental Bill of Rights that states that parents alone have the sole authority over their children's medical decisions. Not to mention, this should be deemed as child abuse, thank you, In fact, the very definition of child abuse is when someone, whether through action or failing to act, causes injury, death, emotional harm, or risk of serious harm to a child. Restricting our children's breathing for a virus that has a 99.9% chance of surviving is inhumane and makes about as much sense as a person wearing a football helmet all day long to avoid getting hit by a meteor from the sky. Yes, that's how unlikely the chances are. This is child abuse. Have we taken precautions like this for the flu? Why are we making such extreme measures right now? Based on what scientific evidence? When this virus is aerosol, our masks are 3% effective. Let me ask you if a 3% chance of protection is worth the mental damage, the isolation, the restrictions, and this political agenda. My answer is always going to be no. No, it's not worth it. Why don't we take into consideration the effects these masks have emotionally, mentally, psychologically on our children? That should be first. Suicide rates are higher than ever before. I know this firsthand and how detrimental this pandemic has been on our youth. In September of 2020, my 13-year-old tried to commit suicide. She was hospitalized at Hershey Medical. My son last year had a staph infection from wearing this mask for 8 hours a day, including during physical activity. I can't stand wearing the mask for more than 20 minutes, let alone having to run around like kids from one side of the school to the other. This July, the mask came off only to give everyone a false sense of freedom that was ripped away right from us when Governor Wolf went above his authority and involved the health department to mandate a surgical device on our children. I'm sorry, the last time I checked, we the people, we the mothers and the fathers of our children of this country have a choice in how we raise our children. We do not co-parent with the government. Bottom line is children cannot perform to the best of their abilities with these masks. Our most precious is at risk of losing their health, their spirit, and before long, their freedoms. We as a community, the board as the elect who took that oath to protect our children must stand up for what is right now. We the people have the power in numbers to stand up against this tyrannical government and must act now before it's too late. If we give an inch, they're gonna take a mile. You guys, I know where this is headed. It's very clear to see. We have to open up our eyes. Let's stand up for our children the way that we should, band together. There's strength in numbers. My hope is that we follow after our neighboring school districts who have already won this battle. The time is now, you guys. I hope that you take this into consideration. Thank you so much for having me here tonight.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Tamia Newcomer. I'm the Vice President of Fairview Elementary's PTO. I want to say 2 positive things. I am proud of you all for keeping our kids in school last year while other districts closed down. It's very important for my children to be face-to-face. I have kids with ADHD, high-functioning autistic son, so it's very important for them to be in school. The second is that I was proud of you all for making mask optional for all of us this year. If a parent chooses to send their child with a mask, then they should be allowed to. If I choose to send my child without a mask, I should be allowed to. So now moving on with my argument. So Wolf and his acting Secretary of Health made an illegal mask mandate. Why is it illegal? Because in order for them to mandate, he has to declare a state of emergency, which he did not. Why? Because we the people stripped him of his powers because he abused them and us. So if Wolf declared a state of emergency, it would only last 3 weeks and then bam, done. No more could he do it again. When I was in school, we had Halloween parties and were able to dress up in whatever Halloween costume party we wanted to. We had Christmas parties, parents sent in homemade treats, and we said the Pledge of Allegiance every morning. Now, fast forward to our present state, we can't call them Halloween parties or Christmas parties. We have to say fall or winter parties. We no longer say the Pledge of Allegiance, and we no longer are allowed to send in homemade treats to our students. They were already stripping us of our rights, but slowly. Think about everything we used to do that we are not allowed to do anymore. I'll admit, this COVID-19 had me scared in the beginning. I thought people were just going to die in the middle of the streets. They blew it up that big. What an outstanding performance. I was the only one to wear a mask to work. Then after a while, I woke up. I seen what they were doing, changed rules as they went along. It's all about control. My children will not be forced to wear any mask. The companies even state on their boxes that they do not provide a liquid barrier, which means their germs will get out and your germs will get in. It also states that they do not protect from viruses and bacterial infections. So what the hell are we wearing them for? Our health? No. In fact, it's been proven to be highly unhealthy, breathing back in your own CO2 for 6 to 8 hours. I have anxiety, and my doctor told me when I have an anxiety attack, I should breathe into a brown paper bag to put my CO2 back in my body. So we're doing this to our kids for 6 to 8 hours, and this is only as an as-needed basis for an attack. So come on, it's straight out child abuse. If you force my children to wear masks in school, I hope you're ready for the legal consequences of your choice. That being said, we vote you in and we can vote you out. You are here to be our voice. We demand our parental rights to choose what we want to think is best for our children. And we are here to stand together, united for freedom and our rights. So that being said, do you guys have any plan for the Ginkgo Bioworks? It's where they want to do group testing of our children in schools. It was brought up in an Altoona board meeting by a nurse.
You're not familiar with that.
Okay, because this is when they would get permission to come in and test, like they would take everybody, like a group of 5 from a class, and they'll take their test and it goes in as a group, not individual. So I just wanted to see if you had anything like that.
I was referring to earlier, that's why we're not using them, and we went to the Rapids, so we could do it by parental permission if they want it. It's up to the choice. Yeah.
Okay, and real quick, so I'm not familiar with this, but I've never in my lifetime had a class about suicide prevention. My 8th grader, who is high functioning autistic, has already been struggling with problems with all this COVID-19 and isolation, and he already sees a therapist. But he was sent this letter home about this suicide prevention program. Are we having that now because the rise of suicide is going through the roof, or is this something you guys have always done? Because I've never learned it in school.
It's been in for quite a while. It's been in, I was teaching 10 years ago and it was in then.
Okay, that'd be all. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Hi, my name is Heather Schillingberg and I live at 303 Reynolds Avenue in Mont Alto, PA. Thank you guys for giving us the extra time tonight to talk, because I know that everybody wanted to talk outside and I know you took a lot of flack for it. So thank you very much for sticking your neck out there for that.
That's the board's decision.
Well, thank you guys very much. So the mandate does not require that we submit a medical exemption form with the exemption form that we already filled out and submitted. It does not. I get a phone call last Tuesday that I'm to set in medical proof for my child. And when I state the form does not say that I need to do that, and I ask for a return phone call back, to this date, I've not received one. But since then, the form was changed on the website to show that medical proof is required. I have a copy of the original form that did not have it, and I have a copy of the new one that has it. Because the parents started to complain when they received emails and phone calls that they were to send doctor's notes in. Nobody needs that. It is not in the mandate that we are to present that. If I say that I don't want my child to wear a mask, my child shouldn't wear one. If somebody else wants their kid to wear one for whatever reason, then so be it. They should not be told to put one on. They should not be told to take one off. Other school districts in this area have taken the exemption form and have said, you know what? If we see a staff member, parent, student without a mask, we're going to take it as they have signed that exemption form. Because what that does is it disrupts the learning of our kids. If you have a kid walking down the hall with no mask on and they're like, hey, do you have an exemption form? Let's go down to the school's office and check to make sure that you have all that done. That's not right. And I will not have my child being pulled away from learning when I am glad that now she can go into school, because I tell you, My daughter is a straight A student, but when she had to do virtual, she struggled. And there was no support from the teachers. I'm sorry, but there wasn't. She would email the teacher and say, hey, I would like a one-on-one, or I want to talk to you. Nothing, not even a reply, not even a reply. And I understand, just like with me, not even getting a reply from my message last week. You guys are busy. I get it. But if my kid is reaching out to you because they need help, I expect that teacher to help them. Why else are they there? So the virtual does not work for everybody. There is also nothing that states that the school boards in the areas can be sued. You guys have sovereign immunity, which means you can stand up and say, we're not doing that here. Other school districts have done it, and there's nothing going on with them. And I'm not, to me, it is a huge HIPAA violation. Unless I send medication in, if I have to write a consent form for you guys to give my kid Tylenol and stuff, and I'm glad that you clarified this, because one of my points was, how can you COVID test my kid without my consent? But you later, when you were talking to somebody else, added that. So thank you for adding that. But I lost my train of thought, I'm sorry. But we give you guys permission to give our children those medications. We should not have to ask permission for you to not make our kid wear a mask. It's a surgical implement, like it's been said. You go in to have a surgery done, you have anything put on you, whether it's on your face, on your body, anything, you sign a consent form stating that you consent to it. I signed no such form to allow the school or anybody else to put anything on my child's face, whether it's to help them breathe or to prevent them from breathing. Thank you.
Thank you. Sir, you could go next. Okay, now you're trying to get there. Okay.
Repeat offender back again. Hopefully I can get through this. Sarahpence, 14728 Honadell Road. First of all, I want to apologize to my community for accidentally sending our talking points to the board. So you guys should be prepared. So sorry, they knew our points ahead of time. And you're welcome to the board if they got them. At least Karen did.
I got 'em.
And if you didn't share them, fine. If you did, I was actually anxious at first. And then I thought, I don't really have anything to be worried about. I prepped the board. I told you there'd be 50 or, well, Karen, or Dr. Carroll, sorry.
No,
I
Karen's
prepped
fine.
you guys for 50 or 60 people. I know there were other people that had reached out, and I get you can't maybe all stay on top of everything with the amount of volume you've been receiving from us. So I do understand. But since you knew that we were coming and we had asked multiple times, I'm a little, sad that we couldn't have had other accommodations made, but I understand. So the positive is you should be, maybe at least you could have been a little prepared for some of this tonight, some of my concerns. So I don't have to read all my concerns. I can forward that on to the board if you would like, if that would be helpful. I've sent other emails with a lot of links already to you guys. I hope that's helpful as well. One of the things that I wanted to make sure, there's a couple quick things. I'll try to be fast. There's a lot of people here, is you guys do have the power and we support you. I'm part of this group. We're getting legal consultation. We want to work together. One of the emails I sent out was saying that there is opportunity to get together with other districts, to meet privately as board members, to work together as Franklin County to represent our county. And I do hope that that's something we can do through our legal consultation. We can maybe get some questions answered, work together. I know you guys have solicitors, hopefully. I just want to make sure that our stance, or my stance at least, is working together, not to be disrespectful. But on the point that bothers me about adding in that mask exemption that was changed from the original exemption is, no doctor is giving medical exemptions. in general. So when you call the offices, the pediatric offices in town, the answer is, well, we don't give exemptions. And I get it. I get why. Nobody wants to be liable, right? Because this mandate, nobody understands what's going on. So how as a parent, how are you guys supposed to get an exemption? Like if that's our only option, when they're really hard to get. And I'm disappointed in my healthcare colleagues because they're turning away these children at the time they need them the most, when they have breathing issues, real concerns. And this idea that a kid was fine last year wearing his mask, but now this is year 2. How do we know they're going to be fine? They might be looking fine under that mask, but they might go home and melt and cry and want to commit suicide. And just because my kindergartner comes in happy without a mask, if I put one on her, I don't know that she's going to be happy or be fine. And so this idea that it's, unless it can exacerbate a condition that's, someone already had, you should get an exemption for. Our right to breathe freely, we don't need an exemption form for that. It causes a cascade of problems that can happen from rebreathing our germs all day. Their focus is out of control. I think you guys can all understand kids nowadays, it takes a lot more of them, or a lot more of you, and there's a lot more of them to keep them reined in. They cannot, the problems with the focusing are going to get worse with the mask. So my question is, I'm willing to sign away all your liability if my kid gets COVID. But what I'm asking you guys to think about is, if a kid can't get an exemption, are you going to be liable? What's the liability on you guys if you stick with this mandate and don't give the power to the board and to what your constituents want? Because what if a kid gets pneumonia from wearing this mask all day, or a staph infection? What if this kid does commit suicide because they were forced to wear a mask? Do you guys want that on you? Because as a healthcare provider, I don't want that on me. I don't want that liability. I want parents to choose. And I want us to work together. I know I'm out of time, so thank you guys. Please.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Chris Keith, 11673 Menster Gap Road. A lot of points been already hit pretty good. I'm not gonna beat this horse, but let's see here. Simple. I mean, look around. I mean, I'm not gonna. I elated before about the efficacy of the mask. It's really doesn't do anything. If you've done your research, you find out. Even the surgical, it says right on OSHA's website, it states as surgical masks are used for the physical barrier to protect the user from hazards such as splashes, droplets, blood, or bodily fluids. Surgical masks are not designed or certified to prevent the inhalation of small airborne contaminants. Okay, simple. I mean, the whole, like, we don't have to talk numbers, decimal points. 2 decimal points is of an N95, not with the, the pretty sunflower, what you got on. We're talking an N95. It will filter down to 2 decimal points. The size of the virus is 8 decimal points. All right. I mean, it doesn't take a genius to understand that. So a better illustration would be a handful of sand through a chain link fence. Okay. So other than that, if you all understand that, you can research on your own. It's there. But the other thing is, why are we here? We got here to this point now because, I mean, look around. We are less free right now than we were in 1776. We might have the modernization and the technology that makes you feel that way, but we are less free. You can't even breathe. You can't go in a public place and breathe freely at this point. And next, they want to jab you in the arm with something we don't even know what it is. Don't even tell you what's in it. And that's all coming out. And I'm going to tell you right now, you need to go research remdesivir. That's the drug that they forced on everybody through the protocols of the CDC that in turn shut down your kidneys, saturated your body with fluids. Your body cannot expel it. Guess what? Fluid in the lungs. What's that do? Oh, second pneumonia, they called it, right? Oh, we need ventilators. We need dialysis machines because of the kidneys. All because of the remdesivir. It was rejected in all other countries in the world. They shipped them back to us and they put them on our people. Y'all need to go to the root of this and start really looking at this, okay? Because it's going down the tubes. The house of cards is falling. It's up to you whether you want to be in the way or not, okay? It's all coming down fast. Simple, like someone else said, you all have the power. Pennsylvania state is designed in small, and the power is in the people here, in the communities. To control your community. Every, Pittsburgh is different. Philly's different than us right here in Franklin County, but immensely. Their cases are through the roof. Now, I don't know if people realize that there's this is per the acting Secretary of Health, 1.3 million school-age children in this country, or in this state, only 14 deaths. This is all based upon 14 deaths on our children. But you're not forced to wear them even when this was like, oh my gosh, it's crazy. This is the pandemic, you go in a restaurant, you didn't have to wear it at your chair, but you're going to make my 5-year-old in kindergarten wear it at his table all day when you already have a spit barrier. Oh, see, look at there, right in front of him. This is just ridiculous at this point. I'm constant anxiety over this. My business is suffering from it. My family life is suffering from it. Like this gentleman stated, it's a division that it's not needed. This has got to stop. And people got to stop taking what everyone takes. Oh, hey, don't do that. No one questions it. I've always been looked down upon my whole life is because I question everything. Oh, that's a bad kid. That's a bad student. No, I question everything because I was born into this. Okay. This is what was around me when I was born. For me to not to question it, that's ignorance. Okay. I want to know the truth. And that's where I'm at. And this is where I found myself. And I found a lot of truth. Okay. And for you to put this on my child is, like it's already been stated, right in the Pennsylvania law, it says child abuse. Restricting the child's breathing. This is insanity at this point. I'm beside myself, and I'm sorry. Do your due diligence as a member of my community, please. And as a member of the school board, educate yourself as best you can on this. Don't take it from the top. Don't take it from the news. Dig deep. There's people out there. I will get your emails. I'll send you the information I'm getting right now. Educate yourself. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is America Brocious, and I live on Delaware Circle in Waynesboro. I just want to take point to what Mr. Bryan had said about the becoming unified. We are all here because we care about our children. I think that the board, the public needs to know that the board are volunteers who volunteered to run for an official position. You all were elected to represent our community. So despite your own feelings, you have a responsibility to reflect that of the community. And the people need to realize that it is an unpaid position and that they are there voluntarily every other week, as well as additional meetings. I also want to take point to the person who said the pledge isn't being said in the schools anymore. I know for a fact at Hooverville, it was being said as of this morning, actually. There are some schools that did not have the pledge on the first day or two because of the amount of announcements and the timeframes and the transportation, but it is still being said in the Waynesboro School District. The board, obviously, at the beginning of the school year, you as a board and administration decided that the health and safety plan would be that masks were optional. I think it's important for all of us to realize that the board is with us in making masks optional. They feel at this point in time, it seems like that maybe their hands are tied, or there's a liability, or there's a mandate and not a law, and all this extra rigmarole. But I think it's also important to understand that in the state of Pennsylvania, vaccines are mandated for children to go through to school K through 12. However, because that is a law in the state of PA, since 1983, we have a Pennsylvania code exemption from immunization. So there are many parents who feel that they do not want to vaccinate their child with either one or all of the vaccines that are required. If they don't want to go ahead and process that, if they don't want to get the vaccines, but they still want to send their kids to public school, in the state of PA, they can fill out this form. And this form is a statement of exemption to immunization law, Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. If you take note of this form, it has the name and address, phone number, and the parent's signature. It also has the child's grade and date of birth. On the second page, it says, my child is exempt from the following immunizations. It has all of the current mandated immunizations that are required in order for a child to attend public school. You can opt out of one or all of them. What's interesting about this immunization form, it does not include the flu vaccine, it does not include the HPV vaccine, and it does not include the COVID vaccine. Therefore, it is not required by the state of PA. My point in bringing this up is simply to allow the board to realize that when it comes to a law, there should be an exemption allowed. And you can check on here why the exemption is. Is it for a medical exemption, which children need not be immunized if a physician or the physician's designee provides a written statement that immunization may be detrimental to the health of the child? Or B, a religious exemption. Children need not be immunized if the parent, guardian, or emancipated child objects in writing to the immunizations on religious grounds, or on the basis of strong moral or ethical conviction similar to religious belief. With that being said, at no point in time is there a requirement for a medical doctor to sign off unless you have a medical exemption. And this is in regards to a law. With the situation currently with the masking, there are exceptions, which is a different term than exemptions. And the way that he currently wrote, well, the Department of Health currently submitted the mandate, was that it says exceptions. And under there, it has points A through H. On point H, it specifically states that if my child is participating in sports, they need not wear a mask. At point B, it says if this will exacerbate a medical condition. Nowhere on there does it give a religious exemption. Nowhere on there does it say medical exemption, which would imply that you would need a doctor's signature. I'm asking the board and the administration to come and meet in the middle with the parents and with the board. I realize that you all feel liable. I would ask that you submit a form that would specifically state that a parent chooses to remove all liability from the school system and gives either A, a medical exception, or B, a religious or philosophical exception.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Brocious. Appreciate it.
Hello, my name is Ben Leonard, 10463 Monte Vista Drive, Waynesboro, PA. I want to thank you all for holding this tonight. Dr. Klein, thanks for being here. I come before you this evening as a former student in Waynesboro Area School District, a former teacher of 10 years, and now an active member in this great community. And I want to open with just one word: courage. Let's talk about courage. Courage is holding your newborn for the first time, being a parent that you're nervous that you might squeeze them too tight. Courage is taking your child home the first night and realizing how your life has changed. It's putting the child in the swimming pool for the first time, holding on tight, hoping they don't fall out of your hands, right? It's holding back the tears of joy the first time you let them go on the bike and they actually ride without your help. Most recently, we had our biggest test of courage when we sent our son off to his first day of school on a bus he's never ridden, to a building he's never been in, with a teacher he barely knew. As he climbed up on the bus to look for a seat, he gave us a nervous look back. This is when the courage for us really kicked in. So he couldn't see my eyes filling up with tears. I slowly looked away. All day we waited anxiously for this yellow bus to pull in front of our house so that we could be there to greet him with a hug, a smile, and found out how his first day went. You see, we've all had that time in life when we need to have our courage on display, even though sometimes that means being a little nervous and at the same time. Now's the time I ask you all, find your courage. You see, not one of you were there when he came home that day. However, someone somewhere thinks that they know my son better than I do. We have people in Harrisburg that may not even know where Waynesboro is, and they're trying to tell me that my child needs to wear a mask for 8 hours a day. They don't know that he cried the night before this mandate went into place, thinking he would have to wear a mask all day. They don't know that every morning he wakes up, first thing he asks is, does he have to wear a mask to school today? Right? They don't know how nervous he gets on the way to school, asking me to turn up the radio and play his favorite song to shut his little brain off. You see, I know my child. I know what makes him tick. I know what makes his heart full of joy, and I know what makes him nervous and affects him. So I ask you all, please show some courage. Find your conviction in us parents that we know what's best for our children, not the state. You're smart people. Most all of you are parents, if not all of you, right? Grandparents. Imagine if just for 1 second I came to your house and told you what you should feed your child, what clothes they had to wear. You are the parent, we are the parent. Let's not let the state become the parent. On an unrelated note, is there a published SOP for moving meetings in the future, or is there an SOP for an emergency meeting? If we ever so wanted to look into that?
A policy?
Yeah, standard operating procedure, SOP.
No, I just actually read the policy again and no.
Okay.
Hi, good evening. My name is Jill Price. My husband and I, for the last 17 years, have lived at 7662 Anthony Highway. I want to thank you for all taking his time to speak. I have currently right now, I have a 14-year-old autistic son who is currently a high school freshman. Last year, my son came in contact with another student at the middle school that tested positive, and he was quarantined at home for 10 days. I received a call the following Friday. The school nurse had told me he could return to school the following Monday. My son, of course, was scared. He did not want to go back to school. In fact, even if we tried, I continued to make excuses for him and telling the school board or telling the school that he did not want to return. My husband and I contacted his learning support teacher, and were finally allowed with masks to meet inside the school with his learning support teacher, his teachers, and the school administrators. The principal, Mr. Taylor, actually reassured our son that he would do everything to make school safer for our son to return. Our son actually went back to school and completed the rest of the school year in person. When time came, my husband and I had asked him if he wanted to get the vaccine when he was eligible. He actually, instead of telling him, we asked him, and he actually wanted to get the vaccine. On May 25th, he got his first shot, and then he got his second shot several weeks later. He was so excited to start his freshman year of high school this year. And now after getting the shot, of course, the governor, the acting secretary of health, the secretary of education, superintendent, the school board are taking away my parental rights and telling me and my husband what to do about his health, making him wear a mask again. Apparently, even getting a shot means nothing. I have read, because I sit on the special education parent council for the school district, that it presents a social communication challenge for not only developmentally delayed students, but it actually takes longer for regular students to reach milestones. And according to what I read, the CDC, most children have either mild or no symptoms, and they do not necessarily contribute to the spread of infection. I recently contacted a local attorney, and he told me that there is a pending lawsuit in the Commonwealth currently concerning the legality of the mask mandate. And I read now recently that the hearing is now delayed and a second lawsuit has been filed on behalf of other school districts. School districts across the state are filing lawsuits against this mandate. And I really think as a parent, and the fact that my husband and I have continued to live in this state and in this community because it supports our child and provides him the best education for his needs, that Waynesboro needs to be a part of it. Yesterday, my son came home and he was not feeling well. He had a bit, I think it was allergies. I took him to the doctor as it was directed by his school nurse. And I talked to his doctor this morning, and she actually told me that normally they do not sign at Keystone Pediatrics in Chambersburg. They are not signing medical exemptions, but because she knew my son and has seen him before, and given his autism, she would actually sign a medical exemption form for him. But unfortunately, I don't necessarily want that for him. I want that for all the students, because I know when he gets off the bus in the afternoon, he is so hot and sweaty. And I can tell you, my husband and I barely made it up the high school steps. Going up the 44 steps on back to school night. I recently read also that apparently the PA House Health Committee is also pushing for a regulatory review of the mask mandate. And I really think, I know it doesn't necessarily start with you. I know, as my husband had said, that it really trickles down from the top. And we pretty much have got to really stop politicians from taking away our rights. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we started at about 7:15, so this would be the last for the hour.
Hi, my name is Jessica Young. I'm at 524 West 8th Street here in Waynesboro. First of all, thank you all for giving us this opportunity tonight. I appreciate. I've emailed many of you over the last couple years about different subjects. I always get answers. I know this has been such an uncertain time for everybody. I know that, you know, we've had the last 2 years have been crazy. And like many people have stated, I just want us to work together. I'm really requesting that as a parent, we have the option of signing an exemption, exception, whatever it is, and that being enough. Quick background, we've got 3 kids in the school system, 12-year-old in middle school, 1st grader and a 2nd grader at Fairview. Love the schools. We've loved our schools. Love the teachers. Grateful for all that they've done for our kids. Noticed some things in our kids last year. Our 12-year-old attitude, of course he's 12, behaviors, not himself, social stuff going on, just some changes. This year, different kid. He's back. His grades, straight A's again. Last year there was D's, C's, F's. He's done great. He does have asthma. That's of course a concern for me. Our 8-year-old, tomorrow he'll be 8, also has asthma. Issues with reading people's faces for him. He has trouble with that. He has some social issues that he can struggle with. 6-year-old was diagnosed with migraines this last year. I did do a little research real quick. The International Journal of Environmental Research and Public Health published some hazards and concerns, side effects, April 20th, 2021, this is published. I read through it. A lot of the concerns that I had were in here, which I found relevant. Number 1 issue or side effect was headaches. She suffers severely with these migraines that were, under a doctor's care. Could that be caused by them? I don't know. I just know a lot of these symptoms my kids are having. And I just want to be able to provide them what I feel is best for them. A 6-year-old having to hold her while she throws up is not how I'd like to spend my evenings. We are active in this community. My husband coaches the football team. We love this community. I love being part of this community. And like many people have stated, I just want us to work together and give us the option to not have to do this if we feel like our children don't need this. So thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. Okay, that will end our first public comment. And as stated earlier, at the end, when we have our second one, the first option will go to the folks at the middle school, and then we would come back here if there would be time remaining for that. So at this point, then we'll proceed with the beginning of the business part of our meeting. The first item would be I'm sorry, missed. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to know when the board was going to be able to comment.
You can comment right now, Dr. Roy.
Okay.
Yep.
I probably have a lot more to say that I'll say at a later time, but I want to communicate to all of you that there was some discussion previously with the board about the form that was on the website. I was not aware that there was the form had been changed. Dr. Sterner-Hein just informed me a few minutes ago that the board was never informed that the form was changed. I currently have no idea what the 2 forms said. So that is a huge concern to me. I don't know.
Somebody up there knows.
So I'm just saying, I think it's very difficult for me to sit here when half of the things we're talking about, things that some parents got and some parents got something else. So in all transparency, I didn't know. So I don't know about the rest of the board. Pardon?
I said, it sounds like whoever it was thinks they don't answer
Well, I'm not sure what it was, whether it was intentional or non-intentional, but I don't think it's fair to you as parents, and we're sitting here trying to make decisions. And I'm looking at the current form, and the current form that's on the website now, Mrs. Harold, I'm going to read this to you because this is not my understanding.
Okay.
I understand this form communicates my intent, and I will be required to provide medical documentation. That is the final statement on this form.
What were we looking at last night? Could you bring that up here, please? Could you bring that up? Okay, there seems to be a discrepancy here. We're sure willing to look at it.
I said I was not going to send that in. That's when I asked for a phone call and never got.
Well, and that's why I haven't been understanding your emails.
I never sent an email. I told
Okay, well, maybe it was somebody that you talked to. Okay.
Okay, are you looking at the second thing to check?
No, it's right here. This was added.
We'll get to the bottom of this. Okay. Okay, pretty clear there is a discrepancy, certainly valid questions. The board will be looking into this and we will send something out so everyone knows the resolution of this problem. So. Okay. Anybody else want to comment? I should have asked that ahead of time. If the board would like, it's not our usual time to comment, but we're certainly welcome to whenever you care to. Anyone
I have
else?
some comments.
Okay.
I want to thank everybody who spoke up. I feel your passion. I do. But I received several emails that have asked to comment on those people who are pro-mask for the sake of their child's health and cut down on the spread of disease.
Could you
I think
speak
it's
into the mic, Mr. McDonald? Sorry,
I
didn't
sure
be able to hear.
can. I think it's interesting that, is it Mr. Bryan? Yes. And another gentleman, both talked about the volume of information that's out there. I think Mr. Bryan said there's a tornado or cyclone of information. I'm going to ask everybody to please realize that information and knowledge and wisdom are three different things. Information can be any data. It could be a fact, an opinion, hearsay, gossip, anything. Knowledge is more substantial and usually applied to a situation to solve a problem. And wisdom is supposed to inspire. So the information that a lot of you have, I'm listening to it, as I always do, and a lot of it is contradictory. I'm going to ask all of us to realize that everybody in this district was happy with our optional mask policy. Raise your hand. There you go. We were given this mandate that we, again, a lot of contradictory information, okay, rather than knowledge or wisdom. We were given a mandate that we believe our knowledge tells us that we have to follow temporarily.
There's no end date on it.
I-
We need temporary. There was no date given on it. It's endless.
I was hoping I could finish. I was hoping I could finish.
Tell you what, don't follow signs, follow the money.
I was hoping to finish.
Okay, let's let Mr. McDonald speak, please.
I'd just like to know, are you representing your constituents or putting your own?
I'm representing the constituents whose emails I received.
Okay, protocol is that, sorry, Mr. Miller, maybe you get a chance at the end. Mr. McDonald has the right to speak as a board member, and he needs to be allowed that option. Go ahead.
Thank you, Karen Harold. The emails I received are happy that mandatory masks are at least in place temporarily, and that masks can continue to be worn as an option after this temporarily ends. How long is it going to be? I have no idea. This trial could happen, the retrial could happen. I have no idea. but I'm going to ask us that we have to wait and see. And I've heard a lot about freedom. And this is me talking personally. Different times throughout history, we've been asked to forego some freedoms for the sake of our common good. I can think of the Patriot Act after 9/11. I can think of, you're too young, many of you are too young. This might be silly. We had there was gas rationing in the 70s. You weren't free to buy gas on the day you needed to buy gas because of the Arab oil embargo. And you know what? Nobody's, nope.
Okay, so what's gonna happen is,
I'm gonna leave if.
what's gonna happen?
We have given them.
drive the whole time you've been here.
You
You ain't done nothing. They don't drive the whole time.
Okay.
You don't give a shit about Lovejoy.
Okay, all right. We're gonna go to a recess. We're going to a recess.
Allowed to talk.
Hired you guys,
Yeah.
and maybe some of us
Yeah,
should
maybe you ought to
replace
step
you
down.
guys.
We'll give you a couple minutes to cool down.
Okay, Mrs. Harold, you're good.
Thank you. Okay, everybody, here's the plan. We're gonna try again. We did certainly, we listened to everybody's comments without interruption. We would expect the same courtesy to the board. If we have maybe one or two who cannot follow that, we will ask them to leave, or they will leave one way or the other, I guess, or we'll just adjourn, not adjourn. We will recess and we will go Zoom for the rest of the meeting. It's not what our choice is, but I said from the beginning, I'm not gonna let, people get out of hand, and you had your shot, and these are elected board members. They get a right to speak, whether anybody likes it or not. So, Mr. McDonald, if you would like to finish.
I would like to
You got the
finish.
stage.
I'd like to restart on something we could all agree on. And that is that I think most of us believe that for the vast majority of our kids, our students, face-to-face instruction is the absolute very best way to go. I think in order to do that, to keep face-to-face open, we are going to have to follow this temporary mandate. And I was talking about freedoms before the recess. And I'm going to bring it down to a level that every parent can relate to. And it might sound silly, but it's peanut allergies. And please listen while I explain. There's a child in your son or daughter's class that has a peanut allergy. And that probably forbids you from sending in a Lance cracker or a Reese cup. And you're fine with that. I hope, for the sake and well-being of that one child. I don't think you're going to lecture your child about freedom. Or here, take this Snickers bar and just don't sit close to him or her. I don't think you're going to do that because you're concerned about the well-being of our children. I'd be shocked if anybody did that. My mom or dad said I could bring a peanut snack. That would shock me. All right, I'm going to ask you to extend it a bit. For the sake of that one child, you're going to forego the peanut. I'm asking you for the sake of 4,300 of our children that you temporarily forego your rage about this. I don't understand why this little thing is a bridge too far temporarily. That's what I don't understand.
Okay.
And I thank you for giving me an opportunity to finish.
Thank you, Mr. McDonald. Anyone else would like to speak now, or shall we move on to the meeting? Okay, let's move on then. Going on to the next item is board reports. If anybody had any committee meetings, does anyone have anything to report?
We have policy next Wednesday at 1 o'clock.
Okay.
And we have a significant amount of work to do on different things. So
Okay.
Wednesday at 1?
Wednesday at 1.
And we have budget on Monday at, what is that, Mr. Holtzman, 9?
9 a.m. yes,
Okay,
ma'am.
9 a.m.
And facilities?
And facilities
At
on the
6:30.
same day
Same day, 6:30.
at 6:30
I sent that
in
to
the
you.
evening.
I know you did. I have to cancel Mindy's.
Okay, and that's all I think we have for next week. Okay. Now, before we get into the heart of the meeting here with the business, we want to welcome our new student representative. Last year, of course, because of COVID, we didn't have one, but thankfully, Karis Cox has been chosen and is willing to serve. And we welcome her. She will have reports to give, but as this being her kind of baptism of fire here today, she's not prepared to do that. She'll be reporting on issues at the high school, just giving us reports. We love to hear, from her, from a student, how they're feeling about things. In fact, I might ask you a question there coming up, Kara, so get ready, and another topic. So thanks for being willing to do it, and we welcome you. Okay, and now we will move on to the next item, which is the first in business, which is the resolution that Dr. Klein was talking about. You just want to introduce it, Dr. Klein, or?
Sure. This board has, made it clear that they have expressed the interest of having local control you know, particularly in this case, the masking mandate. And I had to ask for our solicitor to put together a resolution that we could send to the state and to others that would be able to be the board statement that they do not agree with this mandate. So that's what this is basically about. And, you know, I know you're all aware of it. So I ask that you approve a resolution that reflects the majority of the board believes.
Thank you. And just for the information, this is not too long, I hope. I will read what the resolution says, so you're aware. A resolution of the Board of School Directors of the Waynesboro Area School District regarding COVID-19 safety measures. Whereas the district and its Board of Directors have always placed the safety of its students and staff first in its educational delivery platform. And whereas in preparation for the return of students to in-school learning for the 21-22 school year, district administrators and others spent significant time and effort in reviewing applicable CDC guidance and updating the district's health and safety plan to address COVID-19 safety measures within the school district. And whereas Pennsylvania's acting Secretary of Health signed an order on August 31st, 2021, requiring face coverings to be worn in all school entities, including school districts, brick and mortar and cyber charter schools, private and parochial schools, career and technical centers, intermediate units, and early and learning and other child care settings effective Tuesday, September 7th, 2021. And whereas a segment of the district's community has expressed significant opposition to the masking mandate, which has resulted in operational challenges for the district. And whereas the Board of School Directors believe that the district should retain local decision-making authority over the education of our children and pandemic-related safety measures based on conditions in the local community. Now, therefore, be it resolved. Number one, the district and its Board of School Directors will comply with the requirements of masking mandate unless it is revoked or determined to be invalid by a court. If such would be found valid, the district would immediately revert to its health and safety plan, making masking optional. Two, the district and its board does hereby authorize the superintendent and his or her designee to prepare a communication to the Secretary of Health and Governor's Office calling for an immediate end to the masking mandate. Three, furthermore, the board requests that local control over COVID-19 related safety measures be returned to the district effective immediately. Resolved this 14th day of September, 2021. That's how it will read after we take a vote on it, assuming we would accept that. Do we have a motion to approve the resolution?
I move to approve.
Second.
Any comments or questions? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, that will pass and Dr. Klein will submit that to the appropriate people. Okay. Now on to personnel. And are you doing that, Dr. Sternheim, or is Mr. Klein, Dr. Klein doing? Okay, Dr. Sternheim, you're on for personnel. She here?
Does the microphone work here?
There we go. Now we got
There
it.
we go. All right, like to direct your attention to the personnel items listed in the board docs. First one, we have a series of resignation of support staff, reassignment to support staff, change in support staff hours, appointments to support staff, appointments to team leader, appointments to coaching staff, appointment to extracurricular, appointments to game personnel, substitute support staff. Moving on, we have an additional professional staff appointment, as well as at the Waynesboro Area Middle School, and another personnel appointment of a biology teacher at the Waynesboro Senior High School. And then we have additional listing of resignation of support staff, as well as appointment of game security and personnel. Recommendation is to approve as listed.
The motion to approve?
So, second.
Questions? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, thank you. All right, next item, bus drivers, Mr. Holtzman.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. We have bus drivers for Hagenmeier, McLeafs, and the district as well. They've all passed the appropriate background checks, and we're asking for your approval.
Motion?
So moved.
Let's go, Mr. McDonald. Second, Ms. Miles. Any questions? All those in favor, please say aye. Any opposed? Okay, thank you. Next item, organizational chart. whoever that may be. Mr.
Yeah.
Dr. Klein.
Every year since I've been here, I've asked the board to approve the organizational chart because typically we have a lot of personnel changes every year. And I think it's just good practice to be able to update it and make sure it's in front of the board that you understand what positions are what as far as the leadership. So I'm just asking the board to approve it.
Motion?
So move.
Second.
Okay, let's go with Ms. Miles again. Questions for Dr. Klein?
And I think we did miss last year, at the beginning, I do believe, because of just all the disruption.
Okay. If there are no questions, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Okay, next item, homecoming. Who would like to speak on that? Is that you, Dr. Sternheim, or?
I can. I believe Dr. McCallum is in the audience at Clayton Avenue. I think the information that was shared today via the Borough Blast is at this point, Washes is planning a homecoming dance as well as the other homecoming facility, festivities, including the football game and the parade. However, I believe the decision was to sponsor the homecoming dance outside like we did with the prom in 2021.
Okay, and here's where I will just ask you, Karis, were there any questions like today at school that kids had that about, they know, it's outside?
Yes.
That's done. So is there anything else that maybe could be answered tonight?
Just, I think that the executive and student councils are eager to get started with logistics of planning.
Mm-hmm.
So that's just something that we need to do as soon as possible in order to make it happen in a timely manner. If it's supposed to be October 2nd.
Okay, so would that be, that's a class, right? Who does that? Student council does that. So they're ready to get going on it. Okay. Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Sure. Yeah, they wouldn't be able to hear you from the other.
As somebody who's sometimes on Zoom, you can't hear if nobody's at the mic.
Right.
So anybody who's enrolled in one of the Waynesboro School District cyber school programs would be able to come if they wanted to pay for a ticket. And as we have done for many years in the past, anybody who would have obligations to the district in a financial way, not turning in library books or fines for different things, they would need to be paid before buying a ticket. So at this point, Mrs. Hardman is working on a tent. There's a lot of logistical issues with that. I can go into that if you'd like me to. At this moment, I can't promise a tent. Because of scheduling things, I'd really like to just keep it with October 2nd, rain or shine. But I wasn't necessarily comfortable making those decisions on my own without kind of getting the input of the board.
Yeah, I think that's fine. If that's what you think is best. Anybody have any input on that?
That's what I said.
Okay.
Whatever she thinks is best.
Okay, so we do have SATs that morning. Mrs. Kopko indicated that they're usually wrapped up by about 1 o'clock. So I think that should give ample time for student council to be decorating without being in the building. So that might actually be a blessing in disguise that we're not trying to, schedule SATs in a remote area that's not convenient, because we do get students that come from other schools to take SATs with us. Mrs. Kopko worked really hard on getting more SAT dates at our high school. And I will talk to executive council about this. Typically the dance is from 7 to 10. We all know how Pennsylvania October is. It could be 90 degrees. It could be snowing. So recognizing that, Mrs. Hardman and I informally talked about maybe a 6 o'clock to 9 o'clock time frame, because then, the sun would still be up at the beginning. Maybe it would be a little bit warmer. Getting heaters is not part of our proposal. So.
Okay. Yeah, students, I hope, would have, they can give you their 10 cents on that also.
Sure.
And this is an outdoor activity, so it would be unmasked.
Correct. Unless you would want to. Yeah.
No. Okay.
And we would do, I've been asked about attire. So I have what was put out for prom last year. So we typically do semi-formal for the prom, for homecoming, not fully formal. So it'll just be like no jeans. There's some guidance that's been around in the district before I came here. So we'll go with that.
So we have it there if anybody needs to see that or isn't.
Yeah, we're working on like the prom, they had like quadrants. I don't know that we need to do that this time. So I'm working with the office staff on getting last year's prom guidelines updated. So I had said in my Borough Blast today that once all those I's are dotted, we'll have a nice flyer. Mrs. Hardman on the side does some nice things in the art world. So we're going to make a flyer that it's a PDF that has everything that we can put out to the community, you know, football game, costs, the parade, that's always really fun. So I was glad that we were able to bring that back. You know, last year we didn't get to have fans in the stands. You know, the student section's doing great this year. So students are going to do blackout because Greencastle has very similar colors to ours, but obviously the rest of the fans will probably wear blue and gold. But what I'm learning is that a lot of student sections do their own fun thing at every game, and they tell me, and we have a nice time. It's been great.
Great.
Yep.
Okay. Looking
All right,
forward
thank
to
you.
it. Thank you. Okay, next item. Presence Learning Agreement.
Okay.
Who would that be?
I can do it if you need me to.
Okay, yeah, go ahead.
Sure. So this is an agreement for, with Presence Learning, obviously, for psychological services. We did have you approve another agreement probably about 2 months ago with a separate company, but that has not been as successful as the special education department was hoping for to obtain more help. So we're asking for approval of this agreement as well.
Motion?
Move to approve.
Second.
Okay, tell me again what specifically this is
Sure,
for.
This is to provide psychological services. So
Okay, it's
typically the psychological
psychologist,
exam.
testing, okay.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Okay. Okay. Anybody else have a question? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, thank you. And on to the dentist contract.
Okay, as you know, we had tabled the physician contract because WASD had made some changes and the board has not had a chance to look at that new contract. So what we are asking that you approve the dentist one as presented.
Motion,
Move to approve.
Second.
questions? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any- Okay, business, Mr. Holtzman.
Sure. Yes, ma'am. We have under bills for payment, we have general fund and cafeteria fund as well as purchase orders. We have real estate exonerations for several trailers that are no longer in existence to tax. We have some property assessment changes coming from the county. Then we have exonerations for old per capita and occupation tax as well.
Okay, motion,
So moved.
Second.
questions for Mr. Holtzman? No one,
No.
anything? Okay. All right, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Thank you.
All right, Clayton Avenue comments, Dr. Klein or anyone else?
None at this time.
Anything over there, Dr. Sternheim? Good?
We're good.
Okay. Okay, if there's nothing, then board member comments, any other comments from the board on anything?
Yeah, I do.
Okay,
Dr. Klein, I know the amount of information coming in is incredible. I mean, even up till tonight's meeting. So it appears that I've been following two different districts with what they've been doing, and you and I have talked about that this week, that, you know, one district was going as far as just having a Google form that parents completed online, basically not holding the district at fault if anything would happen. So two of the districts that I've been following, Spring Grove and Central York, both of them have just as of yesterday, the one changed their exemption reforms, stating that they're now required, that they've gotten information from, I'm not sure where, and you may be aware that we're now being required to follow IDEA and 504 guidelines. I was not aware of that. And again, I'm just looking at this now. But when people were talking this evening, I thought I would check and see what those other districts, if any changes had been made, because we had heard there was more things coming down today, that we're going to make this order a little bit more, I should say, less able to be looking for a loophole, so to speak.
Have some teeth.
Hmm?
Make the form have some teeth.
Right. So both districts that had previously or at least one of the districts that had previously been allowing parent choice, so to speak, I guess is a simple way to say it, that parents would have the option without providing medical documentation, have now included that they require medical documentation. However, there is still districts out there, looking at parent choice. So I think that, between now and the end of the grace period, and we've talked about that as a board, we need to really look and see what options are available to us. If the hearing doesn't take place, if the one hearing was canceled, if we don't have any legal actions to do that. But it does appear that apparently there has been some documentation sent that is going to enforce it, basically stating that the district, that administration could lose credentials. And again, I'm not saying I agree or disagree with any of that, but I'm just telling you what the documents state, okay? But just, so I do think that there's a lot of research for us to do between now and the next board meeting. And one district had extended their grace period to the 21st, but again, ours was already till the 24th. The 27th, I guess.
Well, the 24th is a Friday. 27th would be when the mask would have to be required.
And again, a lot of questions remain that if you do not fill out a form and you do not wear a face mask, what happens then? Because the order states that you can't remove students. So again, I think all those things have to be answered.
Yeah, I respond to that. The form was developed, and I will tell you, and I apologize if the form has been changed. We'll look into that and all that. Part of it has been every day we get new changes and new advice many times from our solicitor. It has changed over the last 2 weeks. And I'm going to put this out here because he told me I could share this. But our solicitor does not like masks and is against masks. However, what he has stated to me said, where my children go, they were optional, and they don't have to go to school with masks. I have not sent them with them. He has said, however, when this order came down, he said, as an attorney, I could not, in good faith, not recommend for you guys to follow it. Said, however, as a district, you have to make a choice of how much risk you want to put. And I shared that I would like to do, and there were a lot of selfish reasons, plus also reasons I thought it was unfair to families that they have to have this medical documentation in just a couple of days. Well, you can't get into the doctor in a couple of days. So that's why I asked for the grace period, and the board was okay with that. And our attorney thought it was a good idea and that we could go about that, give people time. Part of the selfish idea on my part, I knew that hearing, that injunction was occurring because our solicitor had shared that with us. I knew that some time ago. And he said he really believes that it'd be upheld. That was his belief. But, right now it's being continued because nobody wants to take responsibility. I believe that's my own personal opinion. So anyhow, at that point, he has made recommendations, and I know he believes, in that we have to follow it, but he's also trying to give us options of how we can get through this without a lot of damage. One of his comments was, it wasn't so much that the people that choose not to wear masks, that he was worried about lawsuits. He was worried about the lawsuit, excuse me, from those that wanted to follow the order, and that one of them was sick. So he felt that was putting us at risk, and that has been their opinion. They have several. They were at one board meeting. Again, he said I could share this. He was at a board meeting where the audience was challenging him, saying, "Hey, board, you need to get a new solicitor." And because this district, and this district chose to do whatever, and this district chose to do whatever. And he said, I need to make this clear. I represent 3 out of those 4 districts, and I've made the same recommendation to everybody. But everybody has to choose their what they want to do. And he said, you're putting yourself at risk. I have to advise you of that. But at that point, you said, you know, you just have to decide how much of that. And that's why I was putting us at risk by recommending the grace period. And, you know, to me, that may be something we want to look at, extending that grace period. And I don't know his opinion on that, but I have to go by him and go by that, because we follow orders and mandates all the time. And, you know, so I want to make that clear. This is not a new one. I'm not actually in agreement with it personally, but, you know, I do have to uphold what I know is being advised to me. And most of the organizations that represent us as administrators, and school boards and school districts have all said, you better follow it. So we're looking for ways to be able to extend it. And I know there are attorneys out there saying different, but you know, what we're looking for is the court or the legislator to make an authoritative viewpoint and decision on this. And it's getting them through to that point, but unfortunately they keep shoving it down every.
Well,
Thank
I
you
do.
for giving me that time.
Okay, if I could have one few more seconds. To the parents that are representing, since Mr. McDonald, you know, shared his opinion, and I respect his opinion, and I think it's very important that we respect each other's opinions, even if they are different. You know, however, I probably couldn't be any further apart from Mr. McDonald on this issue. I personally do believe that our children do not have to wear masks. I'm the only board member in this room that is raising a child. Okay, and I have a decision to make as to what I do with my 9-year-old grandson who attends Summit View. I do not believe that the board is a place to share personal agendas, because that's not why I was elected. I was elected to represent my constituents. However, the constituents that have emailed me without exception are asking for parent choice. I've received no emails from people that have said that they would support, they believe we're doing the wrong thing. I have received emails from people saying that they're glad that there's an option, that their children feel comfortable wearing a mask because they were worried about their children being bullied or ostracized when the school year began, and they're very appreciative. I'm sorry, Dr. Clement, but I can't see, I either can't see or I can't talk. Okay, so my glasses are.
We have a grace period.
Take it down.
Oh, we have a grace period. Okay. So that's the thing, when you wear glasses, you either can't see or you can't hear or you can't speak. But as a board member, I think you all have to realize it's very difficult when you find yourself in a situation where your personal beliefs are so strong. Okay. And then you're elected to represent your constituents, but you also have to represent what's best for the district. Okay. And unfortunately, I think we're being put at this point in a very difficult position where when our principals are threatened with losing certificates and our superintendents are threatened with losing their commission, these things are real. Okay. And I will tell you that I believe it's bullying behavior, but there's nothing that we can do to stop that. So I think we all have to be patient and see what comes down. However, I think my biggest thing is that, you know, I feel Dr. Klein, we supported him all last year through a great plan to keep schools open. And he had a great health and safety plan put together for this year that we all supported. And I have no problem with, even though I may personally not believe masks work, I have no problem supporting you implementing masks when I believe that there's a risk to student health. And we've talked about this before. Right now, with 96 cases at the high school, if we do believe that masks could make a difference, I think that it's important to look for the data, because Dr. McCallum would be able to tell us very quickly if you implement masks for 2 weeks, if the numbers drop, and we would have the evidence and not just be like, and at least doing something from common sense. However, there is no way in the universe, and I appreciate your peanut analogy, but I can't support making 2,000 elementary students wearing masks when we have 6 cases at Summit View, 6 at Hooverville, 3 at Mallory, and 10 at Fairview. I mean, that just makes no sense. And I will say this, and I've said it to the board, and I'm just sorry that I'm in disagreement, but if one more person tells me that these children are fine wearing masks, I'm just going to scream, because they are not fine. And again, I'm in a different situation raising a child, and I wish you all please respect the opinions of everybody on this board. Okay, but that happens to be my opinion, and I may be forced to do something that I don't personally believe in because I have to represent the best interest of the district. But I really wish Dr. Klein had some way that we can figure out a way to get to your plan and support you with what you've done for this district, the incredible leadership that you have shown and our administration over the past year to keep us in school. You know, I know you took incredible flack from other superintendents because how can they sleep at night having their schools closed when we were open and we were successful? It's criminal. But we didn't do it and you led us through that. And I just hope there's a way the board can find a way to have you support us through this. Because honest to goodness, I just cannot, I guess, the question that I cannot understand why we would think there was evidence to mask elementary students when we have 6 children in a building of 450 that have been sick. And when they are sick, they're not that sick. So I don't get it. And I don't get it. And I respect all of you for having that opinion. And as I said, sometimes we are forced to do things that we don't want to do. Mr. McDonald said that, and I don't know where this district is going to end up with that. But I think everyone on this board supports Dr. Klein's plan without exception. And the resolution that we passed this evening, I would hope would be a sign of faith to you that we will do everything in our power to remain with parent control. But there are some things where we don't have as much power. We don't have individual power, over some things. So I would ask you, you've had faith in us last year. You had faith in us to do the best we can for our kids. If we were cowards, we would have closed schools last year because that's what cowards did. Okay, it took a lot of courage for Dr. Klein and for this board to remain open. And I would ask you to just give us some patience and time and don't count us out yet for having courage. Okay, because I think we'll all do the best we can for your kids. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. I have a quick question. I have a quick question to the group. You seem to be very well organized. My question for you is there anything on in Harrisburg? Are there rallies in Harrisburg? Do you attend? Oh, okay. There you go. Because and I'm not trying to pass the buck, but you're kind of barking at the wrong tree here. We are.
No, you have the power. I gave each and one of you a packet that's printed out that 18 pages. It shows you in there. That's from Eric Winters. It shows you have the power. We have the power in this community. That's the way it's set up in Pennsylvania in the community. The school district is given the power.
This is easy for you. You're not running anymore.
I believe on my superintendent. I believe the advice our solicitor gave to our superintendent. So I'm just proud that you want to take your cause to a higher level, because I feel as if our hands are tied in this. And I want to just say one more time, it's temporary. Thank you.
Okay. Okay, we're getting ready to start this next public comment where the people at the middle school will have their say. So Dr. Sternheim, can you please make that start to happen?
Hi, I'm Cassandra Ward, 206 Homewood Avenue. I'm also a repeater here. As far as it being temporary, we have a little problem with that because in the paperwork from a lawyer, which is knowledge, rather than maintaining local control that the school district already has, the Department of Health is seeking to take away that control for an indefinite period of time in indefinite circumstances. In other words, there's no end to the Department of Health order. So there's no end date nor an end condition. If the school district keeps the control that it's supposed to have, it can decide when and if masking will be used and what the end will be. To accept this loss of power is giving up power that your constituents have given you. So if we're giving you the power, you're giving it to them and then they're taking it away, that completely distorts the process. The State Department has not won a case concerning these enforced orders, nor has any school district been sued or actually had to pay out any fines for it. All of this is going to be held up in court for months. So at least while this is being held up in court, give our children the freedom to walk around, without a mask on. And if they do want to wear a mask, let them. Nobody's saying don't wear a mask. If you want to, do it. But you can be liable under the Americans with Disability Act. If you discriminate against children and require medical documentation where it says in the mandate that there is no requirement for it, that can give you a liability for a lawsuit. I don't think any of us want that on your hands. You stated last year that we set a precedent when opening schools when other didn't do that. Do it again. Stand with us. Don't keep fighting against us. Stand with us. We're willing to take this to a lawyer. We've already gotten a consultation set up. Stand with us and say that you're willing to fight for these kids with us. That's all we're asking.
My name's Joshua Price. I live at 11411 North Garfield Street, Waynesboro, PA. I have 4 kids in the Waynesboro area school district. I have one with a learning disability. He's 11 years old and has the ability to read of a 3rd grader. The biggest problem he has with the masks is he cannot see the teacher enunciate the words. He can't see facial expressions, and it's unexcusable. You know, the main problem right now is everybody's straying away from what the actual problems and solutions are. The school's supposed to teach our kids, all right? You know, like Ben Franklin once said, when you give up liberty for safety, you're starting to have a serious problem. There's no such thing as a temporary government order. The IRS was a temporary government order to recoup from World War I, and then World War II, and then the Great Depression. And then when the people started to fight back, the government's response was, it's always been that way, deal with it. That's unexcusable. You know, at some point, somebody's got to put their foot down. I have prepaid legal, just like I'm sure most of these other ones are. My attorney's ready to pull the trigger on suing Tom Wolf, the health department, and the Waynesboro area school district. So, you know, your peanut analogy is one thing, but you know, that doesn't apply for everyone. One shoe doesn't fit all. We all wear different clothes. We all have different size shoes for a reason. You know, you can't just put everybody under one umbrella. And that's just my personal opinion. Thank you for your time.
My name is Shirley Rucker. I live at 11921 Thames Lane, Waynesboro. I didn't come with nothing written down, but we have 2 grandchildren in the school district. One has a learning disability, and last year the online Waynesboro area school district schooling was garbage. It was not challenging. He didn't learn anything, and I hate to say that, but when he is in school, he does very well. He's just a happy child. You know, he was coming home with headaches from the masks. Just sad to see. And then we have an 8-year-old grandson who's in 3rd grade, and he was born with a diaphragmatic hernia. So he has an underdeveloped left lung. He cannot breathe in those masks. He gets sick from it. They're horrible. The filth that comes out from them breathing out the dirty air that our body gets rid of is horrible. We're literally pulling our kids, grandkids, out of the Waynesboro area school district to put them on charter cyber school to try and make the school board and other parents get together. It's not their fault, I understand, but if you hit them in the pocket, take away the funding, maybe they'll listen and really fight for our kids, because it's not about a mask. It's not about a vaccine. It's about the next generation of freedom for them and what's best for them and their health, because the long-term health issues is going to be terrible for them. We are adults. It hurts us to do it, but we have to wear masks at doctors and stuff. Children shouldn't have to. It's not right. You're stealing their childhood away and their freedoms in the future. And that's all I have to say.
Resident of the school district? Okay.
My name is Heather Signs. I live at 145 North Potomac. You guys all see me here. I wasn't going to say nothing. The peanut analogy is what really got me. That was the most foolish thing I think I've ever heard. That's my children she was talking about. My son was born with a diaphragmatic hernia. That means his stomach and his intestines was pushing up against his heart and on top of his lung. Okay, I've watched children dying. I've been in the NICU. I've sat with these parents. My son cannot breathe wearing a mask. He's been sick. He's had things like pneumonia. This really is a spicy flu. The gentleman in the red, I would like to know your sources. I want to know your sources. Where are you getting your information from?
Talking to me?
Well, yeah, we don't,
You talking to me?
Yes, sir. I'd like to know where you get your sources. You said there's all this misinformation going around, and I, sir, believe that you have the misinformation. I have a son that is in danger of dying if this COVID was as bad as you seem to think that it is. The mask has done 10 times the damage to his lungs than any sickness ever has. There is a 99% recover rate from COVID. So why are we masking our children? Moreover, I want to know what you plan to do. If this is how you fight for the mask, how are you going to fight for the vaccine when it's a mandate to take them to school?
the public comment is not usually a conversation, ma'am. You could feel free to, you could feel free to contact Mr. McDonald individually if you would like to.
I already plan to.
Okay, that would be great. Thanks.
Okay. Well, I want our children unmasked. I want to be able to keep my kids in school, and I'm not going to do that. I think you should pull them out and remove the funding. That's what we need to do, because you guys see where they stand. They want to help, but their hands are tied. Well, we can untie them for them. We can remove them from their seats. We can pull our kids out. It is time to stand up and fight. He said, what's giving up some freedom? We've always done that. No, sir. Absolutely not. Thanks, y'all.
Yeah, my name is Brenda Thorpe, and I live at 55 Rosemoor Avenue. I just have a question regarding the exemption forms that we filled out. I hand delivered them, and then later that day, I received an email stating that my child was sans mask, and that's why I was receiving this email. Are we taking are we taking records of said children that are defying this mask mandate? Are we sending them? Are we reporting them to, like, I think these are answers that we will kind of all need to know. I know it's not commentary, but I think it's a simple yes or no answer.
There's no reporting.
I'm sorry.
There's no reporting.
Well, they're not being reported to any agency, right?
No, no, there's not an official report by any means, but we did do that the first day, just for that. We were able to have a parental partnership with the understanding that sometimes children are sent to school with masks and they're not wearing them. We did it one day and we're done. Once you hand the exception, and there are families who have not turned anything in, and essentially at this point, they're not being asked to be masked at this point.
Right, but those children, obviously, I received a letter or an email, which means that they were written down as not having a mask. There was a report made.
It was,
Who
it,
is it sent to?
nowhere. Nowhere. No, it was an internal document and from a record keeping perspective, so that we would have indication of like how many students perhaps did not wear a mask on a particular day. In certain cases, families did respond with that form. In other cases, that certain families responded, they were supposed to be wearing their mask. Thank you for letting me know. We'll, move on with it the next day, one day. That's it. No reporting. It's not going anywhere. Okay. Any other people from this audience group? I think we're done here, Mrs. Harold. So
Okay, we'll pick it up back here then. If we have anyone who hasn't spoken yet, who would like to, we still have about 15 plus minutes. Okay, Mr. Miller. I hope it's a yes or no. Thank you, Mr. Miller.
Joseph Miller, Midvale Road, Waynesboro. I don't know if you can all see what I'm holding up here. This protects you. And I appreciate you guys are showing solidarity tonight, but what you're doing, it's only hurting you. This protects you. I use them in my work. Got to change the filters once in a while. You got to do pressure tests. The school board, Waynesboro School District, willing to pony up some money to provide our children with actual protection that doesn't obscure their face as much. I don't think so. This will run you $300, not including having to change the filters. To reiterate, Senator Mastriano, right before this meeting, there's been no litigation, no lawsuits won against school boards because of them standing up, doing the right thing. There's been none. It's not going to happen. We're asking you to call their bluff. If you're not willing to do it, step down. Honestly, tonight, some of you aren't running again. Just, hey, be done with this. Don't be involved with it anymore. Step down tonight. We have people that are willing to write in, be there in November. Tuscarora School District, follow their example. Talk to them. I appreciate hearing about Lancaster, Spring Grove, or all these other things, but let's look at Franklin County. Because contrary to what some think, yes, we have to take it to the top, but we're starting on a local level. That means Waynesboro, and that means Greencastle, Franklin County. We'll let the politicians fight with Governor Wolf. Leadership takes courage. And you all have put yourselves in positions of leadership. And we're your constituents. We're asking you to show the courage again, and we will back you up. Speaking of litigation, these are not idle words. So have you asked yourselves, are you prepared? Does the school district want to spend the money for the opposite side? For the depression, for the suicide risk, for whatever may come up, for the child abuse? And I fully believe it. I don't, we're at a weird time here, and I appreciate, and I've mentioned it many times, I appreciate the courage you've showed to this point last year, standing up to the cowards, as Dr. Royer said. But throughout history, there's been a lot of times where articles of clothing have been meant to protect, but they represented many things too. What are the masks really representing now? Because we know they don't work, and we're just wearing them for unless we wear the right ones. That's what's protecting. How do you want to be remembered as board members if you're going out this year? We see in our local area, Mennonites, right? Some of them, they wear certain garb to protect maybe virtue, to protect whatever, right? Religious communities. We see that in many countries overseas. Maybe you can only see the eyes of a person. That's meant to protect, right? Is that freedom? So how do you want to be remembered? That's what we're asking of you guys. What do you want your legacy as school board members to be? Because this is a very dicey time, not only in this community, but in this country. So that's all I have to say.
Thank you.
Hi, this will be quick. Becca Sanders, 214 North Potomac Street. Our solicitor. We have the same solicitor as Tuscarora School District, and it seems like we're given different direction there. Not sure what's going on there. But the resolution that the solicitor helped to communicate, that's nice. I mean, it's not going to placate us. It's not a sign of faith. It is just words. Action is what we need. I don't know how much time you guys need. That'd be helpful. You ask for time, be patient. I'd like to have a time frame. Also, would like to have another board meeting. I think there needs to be one next week. 2 weeks is going to go past the grace period that you guys have graciously given. And I think that we need to recoup and see if there are any updates when you guys get to discuss after tonight and hopefully come up with a game plan. That's all.
Thank you. Okay, in the back, trying to get up here. You can go next, okay?
Robin Pfizer, 11656, Ironwood Drive, Williamsburg, Pennsylvania. A lot of things have already been said, and I'm not going.
Ma'am, you need to speak into the microphone.
I'm not going to try to repeat, a lot of what has already been said, but I don't consider this just a little thing. I consider it a big thing, and it's the first step in us requiring the health of our kids coming first. Some people think this is healthy. I take the opposite position. Someone said tonight, and I'm not sure if it's accurate, but that it only provided 3% protection. Back in the day, I wouldn't have used a contraception that was only 3% protection. Just saying. I would like to ask for a little more stretch of that courage that you demonstrated last year in keeping our school open, and saying that maybe we'll wait till all this litigation goes through. And then once a final determination is made about the legality of this mandate, then we'll act. And that we won't act with the masks until then. We'll just keep things as they were. If you want to wear a mask, you're happy to. If you don't want to wear one, you're happy to. Just extend that until it gets to the legal legs. And then we'll see what's legitimate. About the test kits, their rapid tests, do you know the accuracy of those rapid tests that they were going to use in the schools?
It's not.
It's not great. Okay. I appreciate you being honest about that, because that was my opinion as well. And I would hate to see a kid sent home from school for 10 days or whatever the time frame is for a test that's really not terribly accurate. So even though, I don't know if they were free to the school district. I know the Wolf administration had bought some, but free's not always all that great when it's not all that accurate. Also, I was a little concerned about how you do the close contact determining who does that at the high school? Yeah. Okay. How do they go about doing that when kids are all about the school?
Yeah, I'd like to stick within the 5. Can you give her a quick answer or is it a long answer?
Okay.
Okay.
I was just kind of concerned when they go to the lunchroom and then they're with different kids. And I mean, do they contact trace all the kids that they're in a room with for 15 minutes or more? That would encompass a lot of kids. If they're sent home for 10 days, is that the protocol right now? I have, thankfully, no, because I was wondering what the education experience was going to be if they had to stay home. Were they going to have Zoom education during that time where they would have face-to-face with the teacher, at least through Zoom? Or would they just be given assignments for that 2-week period?
We could answer that if you're done.
Okay.
If you're done, do you want to
Sure,
keep going
right.
or we can answer when you're finished?
Okay.
Just to clarify.
I got a call today telling me about the Hooverville breakdown, that it was 2 adults and 1 child. When I get the high school breakdown, it's just kind of a group. It's not broken down as to whether it's adults or children. I don't necessarily know that that's important for me to know, but it would kind of give parents a better picture of where the infection rate is going and where it's coming from. Is there any COVID funding not yet spent that the board district has?
Some of it's not spent.
Yeah, some of them are.
Okay. Well, it's just a thought, but maybe those cameras in the classroom that everybody keeps asking for might be spent on that money. It would help with contact tracing. You'd see where the kids have been.
Okay, so let's maybe Dr. Klein could real quick do the contract tracing or
Yeah, I mean.
or would you rather have Dr.
This
Klein?
year, I mean, she can explain how they do it over there, but
Okay.
in general, this year, we decided, that last year it was not optional for us. We had to do the contact tracing. Actually, we did the health department's job for them, and it created a lot of issues for us. When they said it was a local decision, made the decision that we weren't going to, and that's what I recommended to the board in the plan. We were still internally going to try to figure it out. The problem is it's putting a lot on our administration, and I think it's something we'll have to reconsider whether we need to continue contact tracing. The concern at the beginning of the year was, we want to make sure there's not a lot of, spread within the district. And honestly, in my opinion, I don't think it's coming from school. I think they're high school kids. They're social. They do things. And I think it's from outside, most of it. And, but with that said, the contact tracing, that's why people haven't gotten calls. My understanding, even where the state has had some contact tracing, they have not been making the contacts to those folks. That because we did all the contact tracing and the work for them. So this year, since I don't know many districts that are actually following through with the contact, at least in this area. So.
Okay, and their education, when they're
Yeah,
when
we're
they
not
are
sending
sent.
any kid home.
Well,
So
if they're
for
positive, if they're positive,
or it's in a home, because we saw last year that the most of the positive cases, and this through our data, that we saw most of the positive cases were coming out of the home which makes sense. They have siblings and parents that may have had it, and kids were getting it there. So we decided this year, and we didn't make it where it was 24 days. We just asked that they remain home for those 10 days, and we didn't require it, but we asked that they wear a mask. And if they chose not to, we didn't do anything about it.
Can I ask for clarification on that? So last year, I just know from talking to Mr. Pappas, like they would spend hours and hours and hours, like figuring out who was sitting next to who and all that kind of stuff. So we're not doing that this year?
We're still contact tracing internally. We're just not reporting it to the state. And I think with all that's been put on some of our administrators, it has been something we've talked about here of maybe eliminating that. We want to make sure we're doing the right thing, but look at not even doing it because it is putting a lot on our.
So are our administrators still calling all those families?
No, well, they're making calls, but I don't think you're calling individual families. Individually.
Dr. Klein, do you need me to answer that?
Yeah, go ahead.
So With the contact tracing, normally if it's a group, the principals can create a group through Borough Blast, and those goes out to those individuals that are impacted by the contact tracing. So the contact tracing is a notification at this point to just make the parent aware that their child was near a student who tested positive. This year, unlike last year, we are not doing any type of quarantine. So a parent is notified, and therefore the parent can elect to quarantine their child, but we're not asking a child to be quarantined due to a close contact like we were required last year.
And that's the way our approach has been with this entire thing of giving the family.
Okay. Okay. Would you like to speak from the back?
Robert and Carrie Deverspike, 7842 Oak Drive. We are here to speak on the behalf of our daughter Maggie. She's a thriving, full of energy 9-year-old who is happy, smiles all the time, and is a complete joy in our life. She was born with a congenital heart defect that was corrected when she was just 3 weeks old. A week after her discharge from Hershey, she was transported back for RSV. Since this diagnosis, she developed asthma. She's been hospitalized a total of 7 times in just her 9 years of life. 2 of those times was during her school years, once in kindergarten and once in 1st grade, where she missed almost 2 weeks of school because of pneumonia that was exacerbated because of her asthma. Fortunately, when she was in 2nd grade, we were able to treat her at home successfully, but she missed another week of school. I'm sure that you all have record of this. We chose last year to keep her home and do virtual school because the option wasn't given to send her without one. She missed being in the actual classroom. So because we were given that option of not wearing a mask this year, we chose to send her back to in-person school. And she's extremely happy about that. We all know that masks contribute to asthma attacks as well as other health issues. I submitted the exemption as initially stated in Dr. Klein's voicemail. I sent this in with her on September 7th, only to receive an email asking for a medical exemption from her primary care doctor. The mandate that went out does not suggest nor state that medical exemptions must be provided. You as a school district should not be adding to this mandate. I work 12-hour shifts 3 to 4 days a week and have to wear a mask. I know how it feels and how my body feels having to wear it for that long. I feel fatigued. At times I feel like I can't catch my breath. Other times, more often than not, I get headaches. It's been proven that masks are not effective in stopping virus transmission and instead only adds to other symptomatic issues. Why would we want to subdue our healthy 9-year-old to this? Why would we want to block her airway as a healthy child and risk her developing health issues or exacerbating her pre-existing asthma by putting a mask over her face, over her nose and her mouth? When I've spoken to her about her classmates who are wearing one, she tells me that the only breaks that her classmates get are during recess and lunch. I thought the teachers had been notified that they are to have mask breaks during the day. Our 9-year-olds aren't going to just take their masks off. They're going to do what they're told to do by their teachers. If other parents want to send their kids to school with a mask on, that's their choice. I have no problems with that. I have no problems with other people wanting to do what they want to do with their children. I do have a problem with someone telling me what I should do for our child when we are her parents and we know what's best for her. It should also be our choice. She doesn't have a voice, so we are here to be her voice. We are here to stand up for her rights. If we don't start doing that now, we will lose all our rights of our children. I thank you for your time listening to us. I thank you for your understanding and appreciate that. I thank you. I'm sorry. Yeah, just, hear our voices. Let the teachers, let the parents, and let the kids have a voice. Thank you.
Thank you.
We have a minute, Tony. I just have a couple things. Mr. McDonald, to your point about the peanut allergy and your analogy there. With peanut allergies and any type of food allergy, parents have workarounds and options, okay, to include kids and to make events such as birthdays or fall parties, all the different events throughout the school year. We have options to work around. You're not giving us an option by forcing masks on our kids, okay? And then I guess secondly, is it accurate that if my child doesn't have a mask on, will they be questioned by staff, or will we be kind of a little confused here on the topics that you guys are saying with that? So I just don't want my child questioned if they don't have a mask on. And then on a side note, I have another child in high school. Can we work on sort of monitoring when the kids get picked up? There's kind of some group activity. When I picked my freshman daughter up, just some foul language and some other stuff that probably isn't the greatest. I know you guys are all occupied with COVID, but unfortunately, though, there's other stuff, and I hate to beat up your time with that, but there's other stuff that we got to worry about too. So thank you again.
Thank you. In regards to they shouldn't be, I'm sorry, sir, the response you asked about are they asked to wear, are they asked to put a mask on? You might have somebody say, well, this is what they're supposed to be doing. Would you like to wear a mask, or here's a mask if you want it, not put your mask on and keep it on?
Yeah, I guess my point was, are they going to be questioned?
We're still, again, as I said in the statement, things are changing every day. At this point, that should not be. Yeah. Right, got it. Understand. Okay, well, we've come to the half hour, so just want to say before I ask for the adjournment, thank you for everybody for showing up. We do care a lot about what you have to say, and you can continue to email us or come back to the next board meeting. And we'll deal with that form issue. We're going to put some kind of statement out about that tomorrow. So that's an immediate issue. We'll keep looking at what the legislature's doing, the judiciary, and we're doing the best we can to try to make this work for everybody. So thank you for coming. Do we have a motion to adjourn? Okay.
Second.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, meeting adjourned. We will go into executive session for a personnel issue that we will not return.